Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream. I am your host, Kurt Wuckert Jr., broadcasting live from the pit in the South Florida Bitcoin Citadel. I'm not in the blue room right now because it's really cold in there and the temperature gets a little bit weird at the end of the day. I'm recording this episode because at the moment I'm actually traveling because I was attending the memorial of my former teacher and one of my life mentors, Mr. Doug Baldwin. And so I am probably in the air right now as you're watching the show. And as we typically do when we're going to do one of these special shows, we like to put together a clip show for you, some of my favorite episodes, so that you can enjoy some of the greatest moments of the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. So without further ado, we're going to do a, should we do like previously on the CoinGeek Weekly live stream? So our first guest is actually guests. The gentleman from SmartLedger. SmartLedger is a company in the BSV space, some of the most dedicated people in the big blocker Bitcoin economy ever. They build businesses, they build apps, and they do all kinds of consulting all over the space for multiple entities. So they're some of my favorite people to work with. They're some of the best people that I know. And I really wish there were more people in the economy that looked like the team from SmartLedger. So without further ado, let's check out one of my favorite clips from earlier this season. As I understand it, there are a couple of, I don't know if they're proof of concept or MVP or what you want to call these. Do you want to talk about anything else before we start to dive into what you guys have created? Or do you want to go right into demo mode? Should we talk about, you tell me, man. I'm
I think you were spot on when you came on, to begin the show, where this is a year of utility. At least that's the way I'm looking at 2023. And you may have noticed, maybe on the Twitter sphere that, we've been producing a lot of proof of concepts of really kind of demonstrating what this technology can do. We've talked about it at conferences. We've educated lawmakers. We've done, entire classes of university students. But, it all boils down to people actually touching, feeling, getting dirt under their fingernails of using this technology. Yeah. And even with a proof of concept, you can show that real world utility. And, with that, I'll really let Greg and Sean highlight some of the, just small POCs that we've been making that, really kind of demonstrate that technology.
Beautiful. Yeah. Greg, if you're ready, you can click, sure. You should be able to click present and share your screen. Awesome. Make sure you share the right screen. We've had some drama in the past.
All right, let's see what I got here.
This is a family show, everybody. Come on. So, and while we wait to pull up screens, I think for everybody out there, having an app is cool, having a business is cooler, and I think it's important to realize that bridging your app from a cool idea to a profitable business is a holy cow, is that a road to travel? But somebody's got to do it, and if you do it the best and you do it pretty early, the upside is almost incalculable. So
it's a lot of fun though, for sure, right?
Oh, it's a blast, man. But you gotta have the gumption for it too, man. Not everybody's an entrepreneur, and that's okay. So if you're an app developer, like, go hook yourself up with somebody who's like, yeah, I'll fly 50,000 miles next year and shake hands and raise money and that kind of thing. So but we can do it together. What are we looking at, Sato Sender?
All right, so we'll go from kind of some simple, small, as you said, MVP, proof of concepts, just general, having fun with Bitcoin and what it can do, microtransactions, micropayments. We're utilizing hand cash in all of these applications right now. We find it's probably the most popular wallet in the ecosystem, and so we really value what those guys have done over there. So kudos to them. But yeah, so this Sato Sender is just a simple Bitcoin faucet that also has a daily winner that we select. So basically, anyone can go on here every day and log in with Handcash and receive 5,000 Satoshis every day for free. We have a little advertisement that we have all of our apps up here that actually I don't even have pay circles up. So while we're doing that, I'll just do that and make sure I come back to that. All right. So now once you're logged in, essentially you have the ability to submit your handle and you'll automatically receive 5,000 Satoshis if everything goes right. I don't believe I've done this today. And so you see right there, well, actually, I received 5,500, but that's because, I give myself 500 Satoshis to be notified anytime that this happens, which is actually a good point to make, though, regarding the BSC blockchain, right? It's so many things. There's so many powerful features of universal source of truth with micropayments that you could not only use it for payments, instant payments, you could use it for an accounting ledger, but you could also use it for little mini notifications to yourself by just, if we're talking about 5,000 of a penny transaction fees, then literally you could send yourself, several thousand transactions with notifications for your application. So, okay, so we have 5,000 Satoshis that were sent. You can go on chain and actually check it out. And we have a hash of the transaction and the phone hash. And that is essentially what we're doing to make sure that we are mitigating people who are going to come on with multiple Handcash handles with the same phone number, because Handcash allows that.
I actually, I was sitting here screwing around with it myself. You probably see me making faces a little bit, but I clicked it twice because I wasn't sure if I clicked it the first time, and it gave me the Confucius says, good people are generous without being wasteful. So
we'll try to
slap on the wrist a little bit. Yeah.
Wait, let me do it again. Hold on. So we might have a slight bug. So if anybody's on there right now, you could try to drain our accounts, I guess, but it's only going to be a few dollars. But But yeah, so essentially you can get on here once a day and get yourself 5,000 Satoshis. Nice. And once a day we have a daily winner. So today is Radish078, who's gotten 50,000 Satoshi payout. Nice. And this is how many we've paid out. And I think it's actually higher than that. But so this is just a little fun faucet. It's actually real Satoshis, not like a lot of the faucets, which are these days are testnet. And so, that's Sato Sender. Yep. And cool. And so essentially we'll be 5,000 Satoshis daily capable, and also we're going to be giving fun giveaways to those who participate.
Nice. And we're back. For our next clip, we are going to cut over to one of the funniest guys I've ever hung out with. Now, he's not funny in the traditional wacky sense, but he has this really deeply dry sense of humor and a really good way of drawing just really bizarre stories and analogies out of places that you wouldn't expect. But he's got this very smart, shrewd, cunning sense of humor. And he's also a heck of a talented programmer. One of the guys who's working over at Elas Digital. He has a role with Bitcoin Association, and he's working on various tech projects in the space. His name is Darren Kellenschwiler, but you probably know him as Degan. If you have ever had to ask for help on various node things, stuff with the repo, he's a really good guy to work with. So if you don't know Degan, I really hope you enjoy the clip. And if you do know Degan, you'll probably know you're going to enjoy the clip. But if you ever need help with stuff related to the node, anything on the tech side of Bitcoin Association stuff, he's one of the best guys to reach out to and say, hey, Degan, help me. So check it out.
Interested in your
using Jungle Bus, by the way, for anybody watching.
I literally used Jungle Bus just last week to build a new app.
Brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, it's super good. I would highly recommend it. It spurred me to investigate using it to replace some some old aspects of Baymail, which is peer-to-peer encrypted messaging, and Baymail files, which is encrypting and retrieving files. So at the moment, if you have used that in the past couple of years, you're unable to retrieve some of the encrypted files because the services that it was built on top of don't exist anymore. They're not hosted anymore. It was Planaria and whatever it was called, BitFS and things like that. So Jungle Bus is a perfect replacement for that. And I've been speaking to my developers about, taking a look at the back end and making sure that that functionality is restored now that Jungle Bus exists.
Yes.
So
this is the happiest conversation I've had in a year, because this is precisely what I was hoping for. Because Baymail is one of those things that came out during that era of people saying, "Oh my God, I can build a cool thing on Bitcoin." Like, it's when was it? It's probably 2019, right?
End of 2019, yeah, roughly.
Yeah, and so like that era for me, the Unwriter kicking out some new thing every 2 weeks, and application after application, and then all the stuff with Bitcoin schema and all these other things were coming together, and it was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have this incredible network effect of all these cool applications, and then then drama for whatever reason. But but I wanted to resurrect that by making Jungle Bus deliberately similar from a usability standpoint to like Bitbus and some other, hence the name, right? But
absolutely.
But on the back end, very, very different, much more scalable. But so this makes me very happy, Dagan. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, it made me so happy to see you guys doing it, because it was really important that you guys do it. Simply because no one really has the incentive, at least at the moment. There are no incentives for anyone else to do this. So sure, the Planaria code was live, and at the BA we were talking about potentially like buying out the rights to share these libraries that you could, and using the marketing organization to direct people there, saying, yes, you should use these, and these are the best tools, kind of thing. And really, it didn't make any sense for anyone else to run these indexing services if they didn't already have the incentive as miners.
You should be it should be close to the node, and if you're not running a mining company, you're running the node at a loss. And so
a big loss.
Right? Huge loss. Right. It is not cheap to run a node, and it's even less cheap to run it well. And it just is bonkers.
That's actually probably the reason I'm here. I think that they hired me at the BA because I was someone who had always developed apps in a way that was pretty close to SPV.
Yeah.
Maybe not precisely the way Craig envisioned, because and we were still arriving at that, and we're going to meet with him in a couple of weeks to arrive at yet another closer implementation of what he envisions is going to work and scale. But because I was a poor developer that could no way afford to run a node like myself at the time, not like for a long enough period that it would make sense to do that, I had to figure out ways to do these things without relying on a node. Sure. And frankly, nodes are pretty complicated to run. Like, I don't know if I could start up and run a node myself just now. Like, you need experts to really get the configuration in a way that, I mean, as well, No,
for sure.
So yeah, I think that's why it's so easy for me to advocate for these models where you're not dealing with running full node, because ironically, because of incompetence, I couldn't, and so I had to figure out a way to do it without.
So BA started pounding on my door.
Yeah, they just like, hey, this guy has no idea. Let's get him to lead the charge. No, but it's good. I guess I can advocate for how easy it is to develop applications on Bitcoin now. Yeah. Because services like Jungle Bus exist, but also, sorry, you were going to say something.
I was going to say there's an analogy that I give to my jiu-jitsu students, and they think I'm kidding because it sounds absurd. So to say like your incompetence is what has led you into this engineering position at BA, but this is a good thing, and here's why. When I teach jiu-jitsu, I'm quite big. Like, I don't look like I would be a particularly great athlete. I'm a dad bod athlete, right? And so when I teach a move, I will typically teach here is the most lazy way to accomplish this thing. And then I always say, and I totally straight face, you should always learn to fight from somebody who is very, very lazy, because it will teach you the most efficient way to fight. And you know, I see white belts look at me and they're like, is he kidding? Is there a joke in there? And I'm like, no, it's the truth. I don't want to do a big fancy thing. I don't want a deep dive shot. I don't want to have to, you know, bench press you in order to do a thing. Like, I want to use my simplest skill set against your worst target, and that's it. That's the fight. Yeah, there's the Tyson Fury of BJJ. It's true though. It's literally, you know, like, hey, there's an efficient way to fight, and fighting well and fighting efficiently are basically the same thing. But it's very difficult for me to teach an athlete, for example. I'll bring in a guy who's like college wrestler, for example, the kind of guy, you know, he's got traps up to his ears, like, yeah, no, I can do this. And it's like, dude, it's going to suck, but I'm going to beat you. And I'm going to beat you 3 or 4 times. I'm going to take a break. But if this was an actual fight, I would have literally killed you 3 times. So like, let me teach you how to do this. But they flunk out because they think they can athlete their way all the way through the fight, right? That's just what their programming says. So it's the same thing with somebody who's been developing for years, is to say, well, I know how this should work. Let me download the reference client. I can work my way through. I can be a sysadmin because I'm capable, that kind of thing. And so I think that's your analogy is actually really strong, in that you should focus on your business. You should focus on your application, and you should let the sysadmin of a system be what it is. The same reason, like when I want to build a website, I don't immediately think, okay, well, I should set up, various servers in my home, and I got to make sure I've got redundant access to the internet, or else my customers will, so it's like, you just don't
give my
think that
ISP a call to get a dedicated IP address and so on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And this is very much like a 1990s way of thinking about building a web application. And for some reason in blockchain, there's this presupposition that you do need to be your own sysadmin because decentralization. And this strikes me as very
But you just
silly.
end up building nothing because you're so precious about getting it's perfectionist procrastination.
Yes.
Right? You're not willing to move on with something that sort of works and is reasonably secure.
Right.
It has to be perfectly secure. And I see a lot of that in terms of dilly-dallying and not pressing forward with solutions that are almost there because of a fear of it being imperfect. I mean, I'm also guilty of that, right?
No, for sure. Well, and everybody is, absolutely. So, and we're back. So it's interesting. The last 6 months or so could be called the Kristen Ager-Hansen era, or I guess I always say this like an American. It's the Kristen Ager-Hansen era of the N-Chain universe. And one of the first things he did as an announcement is he announced that he's bringing on Smitty as the head of business development over at N-Chain. And that struck me as, well, at first, who's Smitty? Well, it turns out he is a very talented music producer out of the Atlanta area. And he has a long history of producing successful rap music. He's also an entrepreneur in his own right, and has a bunch of skills and talents that I was very interested to learn on the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. If you pay attention, there's a lot to learn from really anybody that's got the hustle to survive in the music industry as long as he does. But he has a lot of very interesting insights about business in general, his Bitcoin vision, but also he has his own startup that is coming soon out of N-Chain with his, sounds like tokenized music project, which is something we'd all really like to see. So without any further ado, please enjoy this clip from the real Smitty.
It is tribalism, 1000%. My doors are still open though for every blockchain that I've been in and touched, and including Hashgraph people, my HBAR folks. And I'm inviting everybody to come join the platform and also come work with us on BSV and come and see the difference. Now, the one thing I want to outline is that there is no true actual NFT, a non-fungible token that is like viewable in your wallet per se, like your hand cash wallet, for example. And what we're going to do is we are going to develop this technology to where you can view your NFTs in the wallet without going onto a separate platform.
Nice.
And the NFTs are going to live on the blockchain and they're going to live off the blockchain. So you have the best of both worlds. And I'm learning more and more about this because it's a lot of space. It's a lot of computing going on. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, any other questions? Just shoot them my way, brother.
Yeah, let's fire them away. We got a few people asking. When you say distribution, do you mean streaming or do you mean selling records as NFTs?
No, I mean like traditional music distribution. We're talking about streaming sites and sites that actually sell the downloads of your WAV file / MP3.
Nice.
So what I'm saying is, we have all these companies like Apple, Tidal, Spotify, whatever, and there's like hundreds and if not thousands more. My distribution is done through Sound Alive Records, which is my record label, and we have a deal with Orchard Sony. So basically, we go to 264 territories worldwide, and we get all the stores, and we get stuff like TouchTunes Kiosk. So if you go to the bar and you want to pull up some music we've distributed, you can do that at the bar. And I'm keeping that aspect open because when we're talking about tokenizing the music industry, we want to take traditional distribution and eventually move them all onto the blockchain. Yep. Now, the only way that's going to happen is if you combine the two and give both options to the artist, so the artist can monetize their music traditionally and non-traditionally now with a non-fungible token. So I think that this is really big, and that's what I patented. I patented that whole idea, believe it or not. And cool. Kristen and Enchain, they're helping me perfect the patent, and we're going to do even more with it.
So that's an interesting, when you said patents before, do you have any previous experience with patents? Because I feel like a lot of people, they don't necessarily come to that early with an idea. You do it for a couple of years and maybe somebody comes to you and says, hey, by the way, you should probably patent this, or someone's going to rip you off. Why did you decide to patent it? What's your history or what inspired you to do that?
Well, when Kristen and I, when we discussed our deal, he was like, he said, nobody patents this type of stuff. He says they just make it and put it on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And I said, that's the difference. And he said, that's the difference. Because I knew I had something, and I knew that I had something amazing. And this is before I even really knew much about Dr. Craig. This is before I knew a whole lot about Enchain and BSV. And the fact that this is a company that owns, over 2,500 patents, which is huge.
Huge.
This is the future of technology. You know what I mean? And when people, they don't understand that it's a similar thing in music business. You have intellectual property, IPO. And that's what a patent is. So I came up with this idea. I drew out this diagram with this bubble flow chart, and then I wrote pages and pages of descriptions and answering all the questions of why this patent is special, what problem does it solve, and how can it be applicable into today's music industry. And, I see all these different platforms, and they're like, oh, we already tokenized music. We have NFTs, we have this, that. And really what 90% of them are doing is they're creating some kind of revenue earning sharing program by, creating these NFTs and giving people what I like to call them kickbacks. And I don't want to snitch or anything like that.
No, but it is. It's a fair thing to call them.
It sounds like a security.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. An NFT can be have the value of a t-shirt or like a piece of merchandise, or it can be an equal distribution of royalties, XYZ, added intrinsic value. The rarer it is, the more valuable it becomes. Whoever the artist is, it's a Da Vinci. No, it's it's a Michelangelo. It depends.
Right, how do you prove it?
Yeah, exactly. And then proof of ownership, which is really, really important, I think, for certain things, especially intellectual property. I'm not an expert, but in music, I've learned quite a bit about these things. And there's things that you can do and you can't do. And there's limitations to what the music industry currently provides for the artist, musician, record label, producer, songwriter, whomever it is. And I think that giving the artist and these any capability or more ways for them to earn, also more control, and then gradually bringing into the mainstream this entire technology, we could see a music revolution, like a complete music revolution. And I think we could even start talking about digital assets, physical and a digital asset that's represented by an NFT. Yep. So then you have merchandise comes back in, CDs, tapes, vinyl, and we can bring back the feeling and the true value of music. Because I think right now, just with streaming services, we've lost the passion and the value. When I was growing up, I loved going to the record store, ripping the cellophane off my CD, reading the liner notes, and
same,
like,
man.
Yeah, it's
just reading with the artist. What I always thought was really interesting is like, some artists would just put the lyrics of every song, and it was very, book format basically. But other people, they'd have all kinds of weird sort of chicken scratch, and what some page might say, thanks, thank you to Nancy, and like, who's Nancy, and just like stuff like that. And I remember I would do the same thing, man. I'd listen to the whole new album all the way through every time I pick something up, and sit and really digest the art, like try to figure out like, hey man, what does this mean? Or what are they trying to tell me with this physical stuff? Because I think for me, like music moves you. Like there's something about it that just makes you makes your soul turn on. But when you sit and listen to streaming now in the background, and it's like, I don't know who this artist is. I don't know what the song is. I don't know what that, like now we're on some weird shuffle. I don't know who any of these people are. I even kind of felt the same way about the Super Bowl when Rihanna was on. And I was like, it was just a little bit, it was like a medley, but there was like none of it made me want to dance. None of it made me want to, it just kind of was like, okay, shit, like she played like the 5 songs I know.
It's not Michael Jackson Heal the World when I was a kid, man. You know what I mean? Exactly. I saw that live, and that was amazing.
And we're back. So one of my favorite people in the entire space, John Pitts, Jack Pitts. If you're from the Northeast, if your name is John, you can go by Jack. And I'm not really sure why, but this John does go by Jack. So he's been on the show a few times. He's probably been a guest on the show 3 or 4 times. He's the CEO and founder or co-founder of Slictionary. He's got his Pi 01 venture firm. Does his own consulting in the space, does a lot of interesting stuff, but he's got this long background in Wall Street investment. He is a money man from New York City at his core. And he's just got a ton of experience that's really relevant to the nature of financial markets and manipulation of markets, which is something that we got into in a very big way in this episode. Now, most episodes don't usually go more than an hour. I try to keep them right at the 1 hour mark, but I just couldn't stop this man. And I think we went about 2 hours on this episode, and boy, was it worth it. We got really deep in the weeds on all kinds of information that I think was really valuable. In fact, this one is in the running for maybe the best show of the season. So if you want to learn about a whole bunch of really cool stuff from a really cool guy, and frankly, a guy who explains it really well, like it's not just good information, he's good at presenting it. And so this could be it. This could be the best show of the season. We should probably do a poll. Alex Moon, let's figure that out. Let's do a poll. Let's have a vote on it. Best episode of the season. We'll see if it's Jack. It could be Jack. So without further ado on this one, Jack Pitts, ladies and gentlemen.
Intellectual sports person who's really good at writing definitions, or in this case, a biography or what have you. And so
very cool.
Basically all the money that comes in pretty much goes right back out. We're taking a tiny cut of things just to keep the platform going. Yep. And the other thing that the celebrity can do is we're going to let them allocate some of the money. So let's say basketball does go for 10,000. We're going to let the athlete decide if some of that goes to charity. Michael could favor his local charity by auctioning this off. And that would make it great for events such as like CoinGeek London, where when you guys do all your hard work, Alex and et cetera, and they get these great guys like Adrian Grenier or George Gilder, if you can get them to agree to a celebrity word bounty, we'll do it right during the conference that month of May.
Yep.
And it'll be a fun thing for people to do at the conference to see if they can, win the auction. And we'll start the auction the day the conference starts, so everybody can start defining the word. George Gilder, I think, is up for time. So if we had that conference, everybody would get to put their definition of time in and compete to see if they can write a good one. And then the last part is the leaderboard. And the leaderboard is really cool to us because if I expand this picture a little bit, this is the most popular people in the world based on Twitter follows, or it might be Instagram follows, depending on which one is your bent. This one's Twitter. So you have Barack Obama, Elon Musk, Justin Bieber, Katy Perry, Rihanna, et cetera, et cetera. And this is an interesting way to rank who the most popular people in the world is. And I think this is pretty close to accurate. But somebody on this list, I believe, is guilty of a little bit of gerrymandering their follows, right, with bots and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
Make themselves look higher. And that helps their career. And it's a little bit of a cheat code, and I don't like it. So I think what's cool about these auctions is you really get to find out, like, through a monetary means of, who's going to get a higher auction? Michael Jordan defining basketball, or maybe we can get Banksy to secretly define art. Yeah. And I think it would be really cool for them to have a board they could check, and that's what the leaderboard's going to be. So it's not up yet until we have the second one done, which will be in April. But it'll be kind of fun because the 3 C's, Kristen, Craig, and Calvin.
Can we start calling them the C-suite?
What's that?
Can we call them the C-suite officially? Can we make that? Can we make that a thing?
We can make that a word bounty. I'll make it a word bounty right after this.
Love it.
Put it up for $10. Come and define C-suite and impress us. Yeah, so one of those guys, they could be sitting around having drinks, and they could say, "Where are you on the leaderboard?"
Sure.
And it could be a bit of a pissing contest, but whatever. I mean, we don't care. It's all in good fun, and I think there'll be a lot of it will be for charity, and it's just a way to develop intrigue for the dictionary. So that's celebrity word auctions. And I think it's just something to talk about and give people something to do that's exciting for people in the BSV ecosystem to watch people come in. So when you have a Danny Trejo or come in and define machete, I just think it'll be fun, right?
Yep.
And let me stop sharing.
There we go. Jack, I think in the pre-show we decided that your presentation was going to be 10 minutes long. So, but super, again, I should reiterate, I really think that this is great. I think a lot of people might look at it at first glance and say, okay, it's a dictionary, and then not realize how many dictionaries do you have in your house? I think that's a question that everyone should ask themselves and really think. I think even younger millennials and Zoomers or whatever, I think most of them would say, well, I don't have a dictionary, but I bet if you go digging, you can I bet most houses have more than one. And so I think it just indicates it's like the Bible at the hotel. It's like who penned that deal? Because whoever did sold a lot of books to everyone. And so it's I think it's one of those things that is like, it's never going to come across as, hey, red carpet. Here's Jack Pitts, founder of Slictionary. Like, he's walking with Emily Ratajkowski. What are you wearing tonight, Jack? Right. But at the same time, it's maybe the most important thing in Western culture. So,
the cool thing is we're going to be able to document how words change so that when we're all speaking Oceanic, we'll know how English influenced Oceanic language, right?
Yes.
And by the way, we'll soon not have to carry dictionaries around. The mobile site is up here, the little light bulb.
Yeah.
And it's up and running. And I defined mohos here for Satoshi Doodles on it. And our insiders are using it now to define words. And actually, right now it's free to participate in the word bounties, which are all listed here. And so we're having a little bit of fun with it with a small, tight group. You'll be in that group soon, Kurt.
Nice.
And we're going to roll it out slowly. And, there's reasons why it's been delayed, having to do with Apple and wallets.
No, for sure. Oh, I know. No, but never underestimate California tech companies.
Oh, and I forgot. The coolest thing about how Slictionary can onboard muggles, which is you can look that up in Slictionary. It's my word for people who don't use Bitcoin and never have. And those are, I think, our future in 2023 and 2024 is to bring on as many muggles as possible. And the cool thing is, if we can get these auctions up high, Craig Wright Bitcoin, Calvin Ayre Entrepreneur, whatever, if we can get them high enough, we'll get lots of participation. We've already proved that. And our record is a $500 bounty right now for world domination, and that got a lot of interest. And I think the coolest thing we've added is anybody can now enter the word bounty contest. So let's say Kurt Wuckert's bananas goes for $1,000. Anybody can win that. But now it's really anybody, because we make it so that you can just enter your email address to try and win the $1,000. And if you win, we email you and say, well, now would you like a wallet? I mean, you didn't want to do a wallet before because it was too hard and whatever.
Yeah.
Onboarding's tough. Well, it's not tough anymore.
You put 8 minutes into it for $1,000. Yeah.
We actually already had some people enter for world domination, their email address. They didn't win, but they've won subsequent bounties. And so we're onboarding muggles. There's a guy, he's a Marine Corps sergeant in California who works at the Linguistics Institute for the Marines, if you can believe there is such a thing. There's a school there in Monterey, and he won one of the bounties, did a great definition, and he's a brand new BSVer. He knows nothing about it. He never used crypto before.
Interesting.
Yep. But he entered with his email address, and I reached out, and I'm like, do you want to get paid? If you want to get paid, you're $10 or whatever, then you got to get a wallet.
We should plan a workshop down here at the Citadel. Maybe not for the summer, but a nice, maybe a November or something when some Northerners would like to get a little bit of sun on their skin, and put together a Slictionary workshop and invite all your linguistics celebrity friends and do a thing. So we've got an onboarding process here at the Citadel. So it's scan here to connect to Wi-Fi, scan here to download hand cash, all this stuff. Simplifies the whole process. All you got to do is hold your phone and point it at a QR code, and it does most of the work a couple of times. And then all of a sudden you got your wallets and you've joined some things. And then you put them in a room, you serve them a little bit of coffee and some snacks, and then you get the floor for an hour to give them the Slictionary black pill.
I heard.
And we're back. So what do you guys know about Smitty? It's spelled with a C, and apparently that's how we say it if we are Swiss or Schweissen. Der Schweissen. I'm going to stop. Okay, so we had Bernhard on the show. Bernhard Müller is, I believe he's CEO, but definitely founder or co-founder of Smitty. And what Smitty is a payments app. In a very basic sense, it is an application designed to eliminate a bunch of the players in the payment space. If you actually knew how many people were taking fees every time you swiped a credit card, you'd have a stroke, I promise you. And Bernhard has decided, hey, with the power of Bitcoin, Smitty can fix this problem. So in the interview, we talked quite a bit about Smitty, the payment processing company, the disruptive rails, the plumbing of Bitcoin, and all of the work that he's doing in the commercial space. But we also talk about the Swiss franc stablecoin. It is issued by, or not, okay, rewind, not issued by. In fact, we clarify this in the interview, but it is guaranteed one-to-one Swiss franc. So stablecoin to a guaranteed redemption. And that is a big perk for trying to issue a stable currency that can be trusted. Now, Bernard's also an old school Bitcoin guy. He's been around about as long as I have. And we talk a little bit about some fun stuff, some of the history stuff, and some of the grand vision stuff. He's a guy that I wish we got to spend more time with, but he is unfortunately across the pond over in Zurich, Switzerland. But we had a good show, and I hope you enjoy the clip. Why start with the Swiss franc instead of, say, the dollar? Like, was it is it from a regulatory standpoint, and maybe also let us know how official is your Swiss franc stablecoin as an, like, who is the issuer? What are the legal implications? Maybe let's start there. What's the story behind the Swiss franc stablecoin?
Keep the other questions on the hot plate so we can answer them later, because they're also really important. Well, the Swiss franc stablecoin Centi franc is issued by Centi. And it stands, 1 cent of this Swiss franc, always gives you a claim of this 1 Swiss franc cent against us. And this is a bearer instrument. So whoever holds it has this claim. It can be freely transferred to third parties. It can be integrated and used by anyone. Now, why should people trust us with their money? Basically, we have a bank guarantee in the background. Should we as issuer default, then every cent of each claim is actually covered by a Swiss bank guarantee. In regards to being official, this is not a CBDC. This is a privately issued payment token. That's what it also legally is for the Swiss regulator FINMA. That's basically what I can say about it. It's just needed that you have a bank guarantee as well. So your stable coin does not count as a security, which would have very negative effects on our business, actually, if it did.
So, so that's the other interesting thing. Like, the way you issue is a really big deal, because from a technical standpoint, I mean, issuing a token is a couple strokes of a key. Somebody who knows what they're doing can do it inside of, the afternoon. So what was your process from going from, hey, we should issue a stable coin? How long ago was that, first of all? And then what's the registration, the regulation? I'm sure it's insurance and the guarantee. I know it's not easy to get the bank to give you a guarantee on that kind of thing. Walk us through that a little bit, please.
Okay, I'll try to walk you through it. So when we founded Centi, we already assumed that a stable coin would be needed at some point. Of course, we built everything first, our merchant integrations, our app, everything focused around BSV. That's the backbone, which makes everything work. But it was pretty clear. Then for quite some time, we did actually hope, or let's say actively hope, we also pursued this with some partners, that somebody else would issue the stable coin, because quite frankly, we're mostly a payments company. We really want to save merchants and consumers millions and billions of dollars. And the stable coin is really an infrastructure project. But then, these partners weren't as fast as we hoped, or there was some, stuff that happened which prevented them from issuing the coins. And so we had to get active ourselves. We just didn't want to, let this be up to chance anymore, because it was just a way too important piece of our puzzle of disruption. And so honestly, this moment was around May or June last year, 2022, where we started to go directly into the interaction with the regulator and, the lawyers and everything. And then subsequently also the banks.
Is there, what would the process look like if you wanted to issue a digital euro or a digital dollar? Would you have to redo the whole process, or?
No, this bank we're at also supports other currencies, and the Swiss bank guarantee can also be given for other currencies. And the legal status of this token would be the same. But since this is a CoinGeek channel and we can be a bit geeky, there is, of course, also always a thin red line in regards to actually promoting it abroad. So let's say, as first thing, Centi would have gone and said, well, we do the US dollars and we market it in the US for specifically for US people. That's probably something you wouldn't want to do, at least not as your first move, because, finance and payments is really a business of trust. And you need the trust of a bank, you need the trust of the regulator, of a few more entities to do this. And it's usually always best to start kind of small and humble, and make the product work and show it works, and then grow from there. And we clearly have plans to grow from there. We also have a dedicated website to people that are interested to maybe issue a stable coin themselves, and and might not want to go through all of this again.
Just so you know, a little tangent, your website and marketing stuff I've always really liked. I think the Centi brand is quite strong. So whoever's doing that for you, like round of applause to them. They do a really good job.
We have a great team behind Genti, and I will gladly forward this to the team.
For sure. So it's an interesting thing to see how a lot of this stuff has come together. So going back to that question we left on the hot plate a little bit, what do you think should be the role of the stable coin versus the Bitcoin denomination, especially with all these problems we have with like BSV, BCH, BTC? What is Bitcoin and all of that? Do you try to stay away from all of that entirely, or what's your view on, let's say, what does this look like in 5 or 10 years? Do you think we transition away from fiat currency, or do you think our grandchildren are still going to use fiat and use Bitcoin, and they're just will be exchanged and stuff?
Well, this is a philosophical question. I would certainly like that, more transitions into Bitcoin itself. However, as a company, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. We have to serve the market, what the market wants. And currently we assess that the market wants stability, especially in payments applications. People want to top up their app and have $200, and then they spend 10, and 2 weeks later they still have 190, because that's the kind of natural way we think of money. And of course, the hardcore Bitcoiner will say, well, you still have 1.9 Bitcoin. Yes, I do, but my wallet still shows me, some other amount in dollars or something. So we, like with payment options in general, we just believe in choice. And in Genti, you can use BSV to pay. At the end of April, we will, or beginning of next month, we will announce merchants that have turned on their payment option with our new partner Payrex, for example. And if you want to go and pay there, you can use BSV. You don't even need to use the Genti app. You can actually use Handcash or SendBee or any app that supports BIP270 payments or DPP payments. But of course, if you want to pay with the stablecoin, then currently we are the only app that supports that. Potentially there will be others that come. You will always have the choice. So that's really important. Your choice as a consumer, your choice as a merchant. What do you want to offer? What do you want to accept?
Great.
Most merchants will accept everything we allow, because for them it comes at a full convenience. They will not even, they don't care. They get the same amount of money on the bank account paid out to them.
Sure, because you're managing the settlement.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not a settlement. So getting into the weeds a bit here, but when you pay one of our merchants, it's really a direct peer-to-peer cash payment. What we do is we have subsequent services that exchanges this digital money for the merchant for money on the bank account. And for their convenience, we also run a fiduciary service. So we can forward this money every night to Genti in order to exchange it. And we can also send out promotional tokens like loyalty points and things like that on their behalf.
It's a heck of a business, man. The payments business is, like I said, when you see how it works on the back end, you realize how many people have their fingers in just from a swipe of a credit card, and there's a dozen companies involved. It's a very weird business in that regard. So, and
it's very intransparent. It's very intransparent in many ways. You would never know. Like in one way, it's just what you mentioned. You don't actually know who's involved, who handled my data, and so on and so forth. But it's also quite intransparent in a sense that this industry has tried for decades, and it's now softening up due to regulatory constraints. They've tried for decades to prevent merchants from passing on fees. So every merchant has to, calculate this fee into their product pricing. No matter you pay with cash, you pay with card, you pay with PayPal, you pay with something else, you usually get the same price. Also because consumer protection agencies, they said, well, the American citizen needs to know I have $1, no matter if the dollar is on PayPal or in cash and so on. But they are now realizing that actually that is bad, and that, creates inflated prices if everyone is allowed to hide their fees in those product prices.
Yeah, man, that's it's just wild. It's a wild business. And we're back, everybody. That was my 5 favorite clips from the current season. I'm really looking forward to being back with you, being kind of back to normal, putting my dear old friend to rest and kind of getting back in my groove. I've taken a little bit of personal time off to deal with some of the grief and to hug my children and spend some time with my wife and remember that there's a whole bunch of good stuff in the world that is worth doing on top of the entrepreneurship and the advocacy that I like to do in the BSV space. It's important for not just me, but also you and the collective us to take care of each other and to focus on the things that really matter, which really comes down to your friends and family in almost every circumstance. So Doug Baldwin used to close every single class and every single meeting and every single opportunity that he had with people by saying, Lord willing, I will see you next week. And well, he said that for the last time about 2 weeks ago now. And it's upsetting because I'm going to miss him, but I expect to see him again in eternity. And that's just something we got to deal with. So everybody, really go hug your loved ones. Think an eternal thought every once in a while. And don't be afraid to lift up a prayer or call an old friend who maybe you haven't talked to in a while and say, hey, I was just thinking about you, because you're really going to regret it if you don't ever get that opportunity to say it again. So everybody, I appreciate you watching the clip show. I will be back full time next week. We're going to do a weekly live stream the way you always like it. And it's going to be a good time. So Lord willing, everybody, I will see you next week live here on the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. Do not forget to be good to each other. Take care and goodbye.